Hi everyone. Hi, can you hear me, everybody?
Hi, Gorak.
Hi, Samyak.
Hi, Gorak.
Hi, everybody. How are you? How are you all?
Hi, Gaurav. All good.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Hi, Ankit, Assis, Alan, Daya, yeah, everybody. So, um, we are going to learn conceptual things as well today regarding React. So, did you try doing some of the extra credits, some of the instructions that I sent you on the two repositories, use effect and use context? Did any of you try that? Okay, let me connect to my microphone and then let's start then. Okay, let me check. Okay, I think I'm audible now. Is it better, everybody? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's good.
All right. So let's start with use effect hook first. We have two hooks which are really important for multiple state management as well as state transfer. For multiple state management, we are going to see use effect hook. And for state transfer, we will see use context hook. Okay. So let me share my screen. Yeah, we were here last time, right? I asked you to try doing context and reducer yourself, but let's do it ourselves then together. So we will only work on app.jsx, and we will first start with use reducer hook here. I sent you the link on the chat, right? Last time. Can you open that one? Yeah, this is the repository link for use reducer hook. So actually we can use state hook already, right? React use state hook is already there that we can use for state management. So sometimes if you have multiple states which are changed together, okay, so then at that time what you can do is create an object, put multiple properties in that object, and treat those multiple properties as your separate state. Okay, that you can do as well in use state hook. But at that time, instead of doing that, you can actually use reducer hook. What I'm trying to say is, can you let me quickly delete this one. I'll later copy the initial code from there. We can use state hook at this location, right? Use state hook. So I can use state. That's it. So can you pass object here as well as its initial value? Is it possible?
No.
We cannot pass object as initial value.
Oh, we can pass an object. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Let me see if it is running or not. Okay. We can pass object as its initial value. Okay. So then the object can have multiple. Let me print that this state at first. This is initial object, which is empty. We can write initial value as well. Name is empty, let's say, and initial age is empty. Can we do this as well? What do you think? Is it fine?
I think fine.
Yeah, we are just passing initial properties which are empty. We can also set their initial name as well if we need. This is just a value. This is just a value in JavaScript. Either we can pass string, either we can pass number, or array, or function as well, or object as well. So this is object, and it has two properties. So that's fine. We have name and age. So here is one thing which is really important. And that is what we're going to first see, and then we'll go to use reducer hook. So let me have that use state hook, use effect hook here, which I'll use to change the state. You understand what I mean? Change the state. What will I use inside use effect hook to change the state?
Function.
Which one?
Is it callback function, like arrow function? I think.
Yeah, that's the syntax I'll use. But what is the function that I'm going to use inside use effect hook? Inside that another function, right? Uh,
Async function.
sync is related to API. We are not going to call API. I'm just saying you that I'm going to change the state value. State value means initially this is name is empty, right? Maybe I'm setting my own name here. I'm setting my own age here, something like that. How will I do that? Yeah, that's the first question. Let me not write use effect hook then. Okay. I'm going to update this state then. What should I do? I need to update this state. Initially they are empty, right? What should I do?
Use
Let's
state.
say that,
Set state function with the set state
yeah,
function.
right, this one, right? I'm going to use this one inside use effect. That's why I wrote use effect there, right? So in that use effect hook, I'm going to use that set state function actually here. That's why I wrote use effect hook. And I need to let me first set this state. Let me first set only name. Let's say I'm just setting random name here. Is this fine? What do you think? Is the syntax fine first? Is the syntax of use effect hook completed here? Is it fine? Or is it not correct?
You need another function as well. I mean, you need another, a function and a dependency, right, for user.
Correct. Another argument of the use effect hook, right?
Yeah, yes.
This is the first argument, which is a function of the use effect hook. We need another argument that is a dependency array, right?
Yeah.
We need dependency array as well. Otherwise, we use effect hook will be run, will go in infinite loop actually. So now we corrected the syntax of use effect hook. Do you think is it fine? It is fine now. I'm writing set state. What do you think? It is what? Will it work? Or do you think something is missing there or something will happen?
So don't we need to assign like A's as well?
Yeah, another property is there. But let's say I just want to update this name only. I just want to update the name only. For example, age is, let's say name is already there, let's say. And now I just want to update age. Okay. I just want to update age here. Name is already there. What do you think? What will happen? Will it work? Will it only update age or what will happen? You just analyze the situation and guess what will happen here.
I don't think like it will assign like the same age as Alex.
Or it will not assign the same age.
Because if we have like okay two object and like the in the
Okay.
second if the age is missing and if we assign age, like how does it know like it goes to the first object or the second object?
There is no second object, right? This is our single object that we have. You mean first property?
No, yeah, I mean like if there was.
Okay. No, we cannot pass multiple object here, right? Is that what you think? And we will pass only single object here all the time, but properties may be lesser or greater. I think you want to say there we are passing age. What about name, right? Is that something you are concerned?
Yeah, I mean like so you already assigned the name, but you are trying to assign the age, right? So
Correct.
I'm not quite sure like if the age is going to be assigned to Alex. So
Yeah. So actually set state will always update this value, whatever is there, right? Currently this is an object and now this is creating the similar value, but quite not similar, right? You are quite closer, but this is something something about name. What about name? What will happen? For example, if I console log,
fine, right?
yeah. What do you think? What will be the value of a state? How many times? First, let me ask you another question. How many times do you think? Where is this coming from? Name and is there any other console log? Name and age. Okay. So, how many times will this state be printed on the console? How many times will it
Because like you have an empty array.
array?
No, I mean like it will just print once because you have assigned empty array in user before.
Okay. Yeah, you mean this one, right? This one. Don't call it empty array. This is dependency array. Okay. Yeah, yeah, that's right. But the proper name is dependency array. Yeah, okay. This is empty right now. Dependency array is empty. But will it only printed once? Will it be only printed once?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe twice, because uh, the the app would be rendered once again when the set state is called.
Correct. Yeah. This will first run itself, right? This is a component. We are rendering component where? Okay, another question. Where are we rendering this component? App component.
Index.
Yeah, correct. In index.js.
Yeah.
Okay, currently we don't have index, I think. We have main.jsx here, right? Yeah, correct? Just go inside main.jsx, you'll see app is rendered there. Okay, so first it will be printed from that render. And the second times here we have this use effect hook. At the end of the component render, use effect hook will run. That I told you, right? So component rendering is completed. This is printed already. Now use effect hook is running. It is setting the state, means the component will re-render because state is now updated from here. So it will print twice, right? Is that clear? Let's see. We have twice. So initially we have age, name and age, which will be empty. But if you open here, you will see 35 here. Yeah, maybe currently this is not 35 because these are two different objects. We'll see those situations later. But here, what is the difference now? Where is name? Where is that name property? We only have age property here. This is what I am asking. What is the difference here? The name property is gone. Why do you think name property is gone from here, from the second call?
Because this state is pointing to a whole new object, whole new stance of object.
Yeah, that's right. This is a brand new object. This object and this object has no relation, actually. This is a brand new object, and we have a similar property here and here. This is once again, but this is a brand new object here. So can I do something like state dot let's say no, because state dot is so can we do something like this here? Let's say that it will be once again created at a new object. If I try to do that, then that will go in the same situation. What I'm trying to do as set in new variable and place it here, that's the same thing. And let's not do that. It's the same thing. It has created a brand new object, and the name is not there. So what do you think? What can I do here to fix this situation? I also need this name. So we need to actually establish a relation here and update this one only. Right? What do you think? What should I do here? Is there any solution that you have, guys? Isn't it simple, right? Can I not write name here as well and copy the name, right? And then another property is, don't you
But
think so?
it's not dry.
Not dry, yeah. It's not dry, correct.
Can we do
Uh,
state dot age and then assign change only age, but the state is still like the same for name
okay,
and age, name?
yeah. So you mean here, here, something like we just want to change state dot age, right? Equals, let's say 35. something like that. Sorry, this is state. Okay, let's see. Actually, this is just a number that we did here. I need to do it here, like state dot age equals 35, something like this, right? And now what should I do? Now just pass the state here.
Yes.
Okay, let's try. Now we have something which is complaint from React. Maybe okay, this time. So this is only printed once, right? This line of code is use effect hook. So then if we need, if we are writing this line of code, then why do we need this line of code then? If we can change the state value, then why do we need use effect as well? Let me remove this one and just write here state dot age equals 35. Then let's see, and I'm going to print state here, two states. Okay, solution is here, right? We just change the age, but this has two disadvantages, and that we shouldn't do actually. The first is it will not re-render the component when this state will change. For example, if you write console log running, I save, then this running is only printed once, means component is not re-rendered here. We want to re-render the component to see the changes here. When something changes, we will update our DOM. It is not doing that. And second disadvantage is most important actually. That is, we shouldn't actually mutate some state in React in this way directly. We shouldn't do that. We need to always create a brand new instance, a brand new variable, especially regarding array and object. We shouldn't actually mutate. Do you understand what do I mean by mutate? Mutation?
Yeah, I think it's changing the original.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, changing the original one. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't change this. We will follow this concept all the way. We will later see something regarding Redux, regarding Redux toolkit, and Redux toolkit will actually solve this problem. But we will, just a second, we will always actually stick with this concept. We will never mutate our, especially our object, especially array. They are non-primitive value in JavaScript. We will not directly mutate them. Okay. So then just remember that we will never toss the original state directly here. This is really important. Okay. This has many problems. React will actually handle the updated, the non-mutated object, brand new object very effectively. If you mutate, then it will provide you, it will give you some situation like maybe not rendering, like React not updating DOM properly. Okay, is that fine? Then what should be the solution here? We will not go with this one. Is there any other solution you think that we can implement here? So we will actually, what if at this location, copy the previous properties, right? Copy all these previous properties from here and add a new property here. Add a new property here. Then this problem will be solved if you try to do this. Copy all this previous one and add new. Let me ask you one question. What will happen if you have let's say object. I'm going to make a same object here. Name Alex and is 20. So we can create another property in there by just writing new property. Let's say value is 20. Console log new. Sorry, this is object. Now this will be added as another property here, right? New property. Am I correct?
Yes.
It will create another property here whose value is once again 20, right? This line of code is doing that, right?
Yes.
So let me say, yeah, we have another property created there. But what will happen if I write is there? Okay, now this has a different value, let's say 50. Is it going to update this is or create another property which is also is? Two properties is. What do you think?
I think it's gonna overwrite the original one.
Okay, yeah, override the original one. There will not be two, right? Let's say. Yeah, so this property here is actually the value is changed. It seems like value is changed here. This is something similar to CSS as well. For example, if you go to, do I have some CSS somewhere? No. If you go and write in CSS, like say, this is just imagining CSS here. Okay, we cannot write CSS in this way. For example, if you have CSS like color, now let's say red, and if you later write once again another property color blue, what will happen there at that time? If I have two properties in CSS, do you think will it work or will it provide me some error? Or which color will it show? Red or blue?
Blue.
Why? Why blue?
It execute the lower code.
It executes the lower code. Okay. Yeah, that's right. So the priority will be higher for this one, right? This one, 25. This one will have higher priority. Here it is doing also same. If we have another age here, it will just pick this age actually. Okay, this is what you need to know. So it means it doesn't matter if you have a second property which is of same name, it will just use the second one from here. Then our problem is almost solved here. If we are copying the original object, then copying this too, right? Okay, let me do it here. If we are copying the original object, then original object's properties only. Then copy these two right here. And new one is once again is new one, this one. And wrap the whole in object. Now we will pass updated value here like 30. It will replace this property. Now we will have the previous value copied and the new value updated. This is just a concept, but how will you implement actually here? How will you once again implement this situation? Do you understand what I am trying to do here? Are you getting it, guys? I'm just saying that we want to copy the previous object, copy it here. Okay, we need to know how to copy and add new property. Copy all properties and add new property here. And wrap this whole thing in an object. This will solve our problem, right? That I'm right or not?
Yes.
Are you getting it? Any question? Okay. we know how to add property. That is, we will always know, right? We will always know what is the property that we want to add. Then this property will be age that we want to update. But how can we implement this situation here?
Spread operators.
Yeah, correct. There is an operator that we learned already in JavaScript that is called spread operator. The job is to take this out and spread it here. Spread this here. So it will take all of these properties out and spread this here. So what we will do is dot 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 state here. What is this state? State contains the previous value actually. There is a better way, but this will solve our problem. Let's see. Now we have previous. Now this component is also rendering twice. Running once, running once again. And previously we don't have age here. We don't have the value of the age. Here we have the value of the age. Now we solve this problem. But the better way of writing is to get to know this always is a previous state. There is a pattern in React that we will follow. That is, we will pass function inside state updating function once again, and we will take this state as previous state, and this will always point to the previous one. The current one is we will update it from here, but this is the previous one. Now what we will do is we will return an object here whose what we'll do is we'll first copy previous one and add a new property and return as a whole object. This is age, which is 30 here. Some problem here. So we need to actually wrap this in parentheses, because why do you think this is showing us problem here at this location? This curly brace is of object or of function, because this is a function here, right? The syntax of function is arrow function is without name is this, right? Now we have the same curly brace here. So is this curly brace for function or object?
Object. Function.
We want
This
we
is a
want
function.
object, but that is for function because this is the default behavior, right? This curly brace is for function. This is the default behavior. But we want to directly return it right here with arrow function, single line arrow function. That's why if you want to make this the curly brace of function, we just will wrap this in this parenthesis here. All right. That's why it was complaining that case previously. Now, this is the proper way of updating state in React. If you have primitive value here, sorry, non-primitive value. Do you understand what I mean non-primitive? Non-primitive means without string or without number. If that is array, if that is object, then we will pass a function in a state updating function once again, and we will get the previous value here. We'll spread this over here and add the new one and return it from here. That will be this object will be now the most recent state. This is really, really important pattern actually we will follow in React, and you will see this all the time while you working somewhere. All right, is this fine now, everybody?
Can't we use like two curly braces instead of using like one small bracket and one curly braces while wrapping the object?
Okay, one small bracket at this location?
Yes, because we were missing the curly braces, right? And instead of putting the curly braces, we put the small braces.
Yeah, remove it. Then
I mean, like, what if we not put the small brace, but just the curly braces twice?
oh yeah, I got you. So what will happen if I write another curly brace here? That's another good question. Okay, let's try to do that. Two curly brace now. Now it is once again not working. Am I missing some syntax? This is fine. There is another problem here. This line of code is not good actually. Let me remove this. Now it is fine. What I'm doing is writing this here. I need to now do one more thing, if you remember, after writing curly brace. After writing curly brace, I need to do one more thing.
Add
right?
small braces.
Now, here, we are doing the same thing then. Add a small brace, something like that.
I mean, we do not need to return. We do not need the return statement because we are using the arrow.
No. If you are using arrow, you will need return as well. But with arrow, if you don't have curly brace, then you'll not need return. That is the case. That is correct, right? You need return here, otherwise it will not work. You need to return it.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, we are inside function now. We are inside function with curly brace. If you are inside function with curly brace, then you need to return if you want to provide something from that function. Otherwise, it will return undefined. So if you want to write this twice, then you need to write this one more word called return, right? The syntax is slightly longer, right? Not necessary. That's why I was writing instead of that this syntax previously, right? Any more question, guys? So we discovered one pattern to update state here. We will what we will do while updating the state, we will pass a function. You can also pass another function, right? So in this way as well, okay? This is not limited to that arrow function all the time. You can do this as well. Now receive the previous state and return your new state here. Return your new state. Return new state is just copy the previous one from previous state now, and this will always take the previous one. Okay, now you will not write this state, you will write this previous state, and now add a property, new property here. Okay, this is fine. Instead of writing this long code, you can implement it with arrow function in a single line. You cannot remove curly brace from this function syntax, but with arrow function you can do. Okay, guys? Is there something you want to ask me? I think you are confused here, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
So what is the confusion then? Can we discuss maybe? If you have something. First, let's see from like bird eye view, like let's see the longer goal that we want. Let's not go in this specific syntax. Actually what we wanted is update this object, right? Without removing this property from here. That was our goal, right? Isn't it? We are trying to update this this state, its value, without removing other properties. If you only want to change a single property, you may have 10 properties more here. And if you want to update a one property there, then we cannot directly update the same property by passing that property in the object. We need to follow this syntax. That is what we want actually. And we solved it by writing a function inside setState and return the new state from here. Okay. So yeah, this is not that much complex, I think. So yeah, if you have a single value here, something like that, then that is really simple, right? Instead of doing this, then you will do set state and change the value directly, because I told you these are primitives. Primitives value are string and number. If you have string and number, you can directly update it from here in this way. But if you have non-primitive value, let's say object or array is actually object as well. If you have non-primitive value, then you will actually follow the syntax instead of this one. Okay, is this fine now? Let me see.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, so then let's move ahead. Let's do our use effect things then. We are trying to explore something here actually. Oh, one thing I missed is now we are also changing multiple states here. Like previously with primitive values, let me go back once again. I need to have this state. Let me deactivate this one, activate this one, and right here name which is empty and page which is also empty. There's something here that is that bracket actually. Okay, so what we did is we are trying to update multiple states here as well. This is like a state value, right? The property is also a state value here. You can say two states here. Actually, they are a single object within single object. But if you change any of them, then this whole component will re-render, because this property is a part of this state overall, actually. That's why we can now handle multiple state change here. You can sometime update name, sometime update age, right? Whenever you are updating, if you just update name only, then this whole component will re-render actually. Okay, it will re-render. So, but there is another way to actually handle such multiple states instead of using this object that is discussed here actually until now in this first paragraph. Now we have something called use reducer hook. Okay, but we are not familiar with Redux right now. So if you are familiar with Redux, is not applicable right now, but we want to familiar with this use reducer hook right now. So this is Kent repo actually. So this is slightly different learning strategy here, but we are not familiar with Redux. We will actually see Redux after this use reducer hook. So let's see what this use reducer hook has to do. Then let's try to actually explore the syntax here. Let's quickly see what is the syntax. We will use something called use reducer hook instead of use state hook right now. Okay? We'll use reducer hook. And do you remember, guys, with use state hook, how many arguments are we passing? With use state hook, how many arguments are we passing?
Just one.
Only one, right? But with use reduce, yeah. What is that?
Only one.
Okay, great. With use reducer hook, we need to pass two arguments here. With use state hook, we are just passing one argument, and that is initial value, right? Am I correct? The first argument that you pass inside use state hook is the initial value, isn't it? Of a state.
Yes.
I think we're still confused about use state hook, right? I'm talking about this line of code. This is argument of use state hook. I'm talking about what you can pass here. Is it initial value?
Yeah, use the initial value.
Yeah, that is the initial value. So here with use reducer hook, we will pass two arguments, but the initial value is now is of second argument, not a first argument, not a single argument as well. But the first argument is something different. This is really important actually, and this is the complex part actually. And now this is a function that will pass as a first argument, and that function is written here. All right, so you need to remember that use reducer is accepting two arguments. Okay, so let's see then. Let's see what are those two arguments. What can we do? Let's first be familiar with the syntax, or I can copy the initial code as well, right? Maybe from here. Initial file added. I will go here, and I'll go inside here and app.js and just copy this one. And now I'm going to paste it here. Remove everything and paste. Okay, here is an example already. We have used state hook from React. You can either destructure or you can just write it here. Or if you don't want to write React at all, then you can directly destructure, right? Import use state. Oh, yeah, you can just import use state here. Fine. So this is implementation of use state, right? So we have a button here. We have something called on click, and in that on click, we have this function. So first you need to actually understand this line of code here and this line of code here. Can somebody explain these two line of code? What are they doing here? You understood this is a state initialization, right? We have this count here and a set count. Count is storing initial count is 0. Okay, it is accepted as a function parameter here. But can somebody explain what is this doing here? Or can somebody explain the whole code? What is this doing first?
So every time the user clicks on the button, like it just increases the count by 1.
All right.
Click, you're calling the increment function. The set count, like it just increases the count.
Yeah, that is what we obtained, right? Can you explain in React way something? What is happening? Which component is rendering? What are we passing there? From the perspective of code, can you just explain what is happening here? Which line of code is executing first, and what is happening? Yeah, can somebody try this, please?
Will be initialized first. After that, I think like code number app would be return counter. So 19 or 18, 19. After 19, it would go to counter function. Counter function. After that, it will go to number 8. With like use state is initialized. After that, it will go to number 15 in return like on click the increment. So it will again go to number 14, and like it is like the set count is like it just increases the count.
Okay. So you mean from which line this code is starting its execution? Which line is the first line which is executed?
So 18, 3, I think 8 from 18, like it is initialized.
It is starting from line number 18, right?
Yeah.
Everybody agrees, right, with this statement? So it is starting from line number 18. Why? What do you think? Yeah, there, please.
I think it's from 8 because use state is called that number 8.
Because like in number 19, like we are calling counter function, right? So before like calling the counter function, like it we will not enter like counter.
This is a counter function.
No, I mean
we are returning the function there, right? Not calling it.
Which one? Which function we are returning and not calling?
On number 18, like the function app is, I think.
Yeah, guys,
returning
make a
into-
habit of telling this a component. Okay, do not call this
I
function.
mean, yeah, a component app.
Yeah, otherwise it will create some confusion. Yeah, we are returning component, and don't call that we are not calling. Say that we are not rendering.
Rendering, yes.
Yeah, okay. So Samyak, right?
Yes.
Is it Samyak? Samyak, you are trying to say that we have a component here, but we are not rendering this component anywhere.
Yeah, I think so. We are returning.
Yeah, guys, are we rendering or not?
We are rendering through
We are,
index,
okay, yeah,
index.js.
Yeah, we don't have index, but
Oh,
currently we are
my bad,
rendering
yeah.
it.
Main.js.
Main.js.
Yeah, we are rendering it here already, right? So there is a component we are rendering it. And this line of code is already executed at first, this line from here. So we are rendering it. There is no issue, right? You got it, Samir?
Yes.
Now, can we say this line number 18 is always executing first from this file?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, but first line number 3 will execute, right? Line number 3 and 18, isn't it?
Yeah.
Imported something will import.
Yeah.
Because line number 3 is imported here. Imported. This app means first of all, this will actually run. These two will not run actually. These are components will not run. They're not rendered. But this will actually run, and this will actually run. So it will export these two from here. It will not execute them. Now we are rendering app here. That's why now it will run, right? Right? So I'm once again going to the very basics of React here. And I think you can now say that this is right? And now it is going to render correct counter. So now it is now executing this component here. Okay. So now let's say that we are rendering this counter. It is executing this component. Can somebody explain what is happening within this component? Workflow of this code. What is actually happening? Why are we writing this function here? What is the reason of writing on click here? Why on increment here? And we're actually printing the value here. And what is this code actually? I think you yeah.
The only
Yes, please.
the only visible like even though I'm explaining the component counter, the only visible part of this component is the button, and the button has the content of the count, which is the state itself, which is defined by the user state, and like the increment function is trying to update the state, and it's in turn using the set count um, state incrementer, the state modifier to update the state, and the value of step is being used because the component counter has the props, the property of step, which is accessible throughout the component. And like we needed increment because like we needed the expression to be set during the on click. So every time we click the button, the increment function would execute and it would update the value in the button.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, actually, there is a whole workflow. Maybe somebody has some confusion. Actually, who explained this? I cannot read your name.
Oh,
Can I know your name?
Yes, I'm Sahaz.
Oh, Sahaj. Yeah. Uh, uh, do somebody have some questions to Sahaj? So he explained really quickly this code workflow. Do somebody have some questions? Otherwise, I will ask him something. Do you want to ask him something regarding this workflow? Maybe you can ask why there is an onclick there in button, right? This may be the question. Why there is what is this actually? Why are we writing increment here? Otherwise, can we write something, some value like number or string there, other instead of this increment, right? Or can I not write? Can I not write here on click something like count plus plus or something like this? You may have such question. Okay, these are really basic questions that may arise sometimes if you are just learning. Okay, you guys have no questions, right?
The increment is the callback function, right?
Yeah, Sahas, can you just answer him?
It's
Why
it's
this
not a
increment?
callback function because it's not being called by any other function. It's simply a function which is reusing the set count function because uh, we need the set count function to update the state because count is the state and we're trying to like update the state, right? So the only way for us to update the state correctly would be to use the set count, and increment is simply using the set count function to update the state, and in the
Yes.
onClick.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, please go ahead.
I'm sorry,
Yes,
I
Sahad, what I'm trying to ask you is at this point, yeah, that's fine. The other workflow is fine. But if this is not a callback function, then when will it execute then?
When the onClick function is being called,
When will that be called?
when when the onClick function is called whenever the button is being clicked.
Yeah, clicked by user, right? Clicked by us,
Yes.
the real
Mhm.
user. That's why such kind of function are also called handler function, right? Because we
Okay.
are handling them. We are handling
Mhm.
we as a user. Yeah, you can call them callback as well because they are later called. But the proper name may be the handler function because we as a user are handling it. Otherwise, it will not be called. Then this is called whenever I'm clicking here, this function. Otherwise, it will not be called, right? So yeah. Who asked this question? Is there are you clear now?
Yes, I'm clear.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, guys, do you have more question here? Some more question? I also have some questions. That's why I'll ask him, but you can also ask him, okay? And we can discuss. Yeah, that's why I shared with you the code before so that we can discuss it here. Yeah, you may not have chance to discuss later because you will be alone doing something, right? Better to discuss here. Anything you have. You can ask simple question, okay? Don't think that my question will actually be really simple, and everybody knows I don't know that. So I think we can ask anything here because we are not learning, right? So yes, Sahas, so let me ask you some questions then. We are accepting some props here, right? Is this a prop?
Yes, it is a prop.
Or we are accepting two props, right?
We're accepting one prop with but with two different properties or keys.
Yeah. So one prop means this is object, you can say, and that is a
Uh,
prop.
yes, and but we are already destructuring.
Yeah, okay, okay,
Destructuring.
yeah. Let me ask you other guys, are we accepting one prop or two props here at this point? Yeah, nobody has answered.
One prop.
One prop, and that is one prop means which one? This whole or initial count or step? Which one?
Both. Whole.
Whole means we have two props, right?
Two props. Okay.
This is just a destructuring syntax. It is not object syntax. Don't be confused, okay? This is not an object literal. These are the same syntax and you'll be confused all the time. This is not an object. If it is an object, then you can say this is just whole single object. This is not an object. This is just a destructuring syntax we are having there. And we are creating two variables out of that destructuring syntax. Right? Or we are just accepting these two variables. This is object destructuring. That's why these properties needs to be passed from somewhere. Two properties needs to be passed from somewhere. With function, you can directly write properties there. But with React, we will get that properties in object. That's why we need to destructure those properties here. We are not accepting a single prop. We are accepting two props here. First one is an initial count. Second one is a state. Okay. Yeah, this is the question that you can ask. We are accepting two props. And I'm going to ask another question. Yeah, so as we are accepting two props here, since yeah, you can just skip. Otherwise, other can answer as well. This is just a discussion. Okay, don't think that I'm just asking you some questions here. We are accepting two props here, but we are not passing those props from anywhere, right? And what is the reason of writing this here? Or we are not passing it from anywhere, from where they are actually coming here. Now, how can we use this prop? Actually, the concept of prop is if you have a component, like if you have an add component, then you will pass prop from here, right? This is first number, you can say, right? From here we can pass the prop, and we can pass second here as well. Something like this, it will not work, but this is how we pass prop, right? We learned it. We will not write comma here. We learned it previously. But we are not passing this initial count. Then we can accept it here. For example, we are passing first and second, then we can write first and second here, if that is add component, right? But we are not actually passing this initial count from anywhere. So from where they are coming, or are not they coming from anywhere?
I think
But
that's the default value.
line number 5. So
Okay.
it really doesn't matter like if you have like passed in like line number 19, but line number 5 you did like assign the value as well as the parameter.
I think that is the default value we have given. If we haven't gave any value with the props, then default value will be 0 and 1.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. So whenever you have a default value, then that default value will be used. Currently, we have a default value. This is called default value here. Currently, we have a default value of the initial count. That's why we don't need to pass it from here. Otherwise, we need to pass that initial count from here, right? At this location, and step from here as well. But currently, since we have a default value, that's why we can use default value. Either use default value, okay? If the default value, meaning of default value is, if you are not passing prop from here, then that is going to use this value from here. Let's say, let me pass the prop, okay? Let me pass initial count. This is going to be interesting actually. Let me pass, I need to write curly brace. Let me pass number 10 here. Then what will happen now? Will it use 0 or number 10? And the initial count will be 0 or number 10?
Now it will use 10.
It should use 10, right?
Yeah.
So we will see 10 initially at this button. We will not see 0, right? Let's see. Yeah.
But you have like assigned like initial count 0 in number 5. So like
No. We are not assigning this. That is a default value. That is called default value. Actually. If you say we are assigning here, then that will actually give different meaning. If that is assigned value, then it will always give 0, whatever we are passing here.
Yeah, I was kind of confused.
But that is a default value. The meaning of default is you have some default setting somewhere, right? Somewhere in your Spotify account or somewhere, and you can go there and make your music very high from auto, right? You will have a default value, and if you change, then then that default value will not work. This is a default value. Whenever you are passing prop from here with different value than that of default value, then that default value will not be used. Your value will be used. Okay, this is just there. So if you are not passing anything, then default value will be used. Right? Is it clear?
Yeah, no, it's clear.
Yeah, that is default value. Actually, it was introduced in 2015, JavaScript 2015. Before 2015, it was not there. We cannot write such kind of syntax there. So you can say,
so
yeah. Yes, please. What is your question?
No, I said like I have never used default value in this way. So
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So you can give a simple example of a JavaScript function, like we can use a default parameter argument as well, like adding a plus b is equal to something like result.
Correct.
So they can understand easily.
Oh, you want more example? Okay, yeah, sure. Please ask me. Okay, I'm always here. For example, if we have a simple add function and call this add function from here, and we are returning, let's say a plus b, yeah, and we need to accept it from here. But we are not passing that value from here, a and b. So what do you think? What will happen at this point? Let me console log this result as well. Let me assign the result in some other variable and console log the result. Okay. So this is a simple JavaScript function which is accepting two variables, a and b, as a parameter, and we are now adding these two variables together. But if you notice here, we are not passing the value. So at this point, what will happen? What do you think? What will happen here? What will we see on the console?
in this case, it will be like a plus b.
Yeah, what is the value that we will see on the console? We will see a plus b in the console here.
Yeah.
We'll see variable a there.
We'll see like null or something, 0 or null.
Is it undefined?
Oh, you are still confused with this value then? What will be the initial value if it is not assigned? If some variable's value is not assigned, then what will be the initial value? I'm asking you really simple question. For example, if you have late, num,
Like undefined.
yeah, undefined. It is not assigned. It is not defined. It is initialized but not defined, right? Then a is not defined here, undefined. B is also not defined here, undefined, right? Then undefined plus undefined will provide undefined, right? That's why we will see undefined on the screen. Am I correct? Okay, let me save it. But we are seeing not a number here. Why? Maybe you need to actually recall our previous adding something together, right? For example, whenever you want to add.
There are two different variables here.
Correct. The data type is different, right? Data type, it should be number if you want to add. Otherwise, it should be string if you want to concatenate. The purpose of this plus sign is either to concatenate or to add. If you have two strings, then it will concatenate. If you have two number, then it will add. But if you have mix of different variable, different data type, right? Undefined, or number string, then yeah, number with string will concatenate. But if you have some different data type, which it cannot actually operate, it cannot do add operation, then it will say, hey, I'm trying to add it, but the result is not a number. That's why we are seeing not a number here, because that was undefined plus undefined, right? So at this point, this is not good, right? Why this is not good? Is this a truthy value or a falsy value, guys?
Falsy.
Falsy value. Whenever you have a falsy value, your application may break sometimes. Okay. So at this point, we need some default value. We may not, we cannot make sure that this is always actually provide some number. This may not provide some number. Later we'll see such case in TypeScript. It should always provide number at this location. So that's why let's pass whenever user is not passing two variable, then let's pass some default value. Let's pass 0 here and 0 here. Now these are the default values. Now it will take this value 0 instead of undefined. We will take this value 0 instead of undefined. And now the result is 0 instead of not a number, right? The default value can be anything of your wish. It will use those values actually. Okay. But if you pass your value here, your own value here, then what will happen? What will be the result then? 3, right? It will use this value that you passed. It will not now use these default values. These are there to these are there so that it can use if those values are not passed. If these values are passed, then it can use those values, right? Is it clear now, everyone? Yeah. Krishna, so are you clear? Are you Ankit? Do you have some question for me? Alan, do you want to discuss? Okay, maybe all of you guys are trying to do it yourself. Okay, that's fine. Maybe you can ask me. So yeah, this is just an example that is coming from JavaScript. So this is implemented here, default value. Okay. So let's not discuss too much here. Let's go and see here. I'm accepting default value here. That's why no need to pass here as well. Default values are there. Okay. And okay, this is a state initialization. Having count is 0. And we have a button which is actually waiting for your click. This button is waiting for your click. So whenever you click here, line number 14 will execute. Am I correct? Whenever I click, line number 14 will run. I'm saying this statement, is it correct or not? Otherwise, line number 14 will not run. Whenever you click this button, line number 14 is going to run, going to execute. Is there some confusion with this statement? Are you getting it?
So
Yeah.
then, like
Yeah.
if running line number 15,
No, line number 14 will, yeah, whenever I click, this is waiting. Line number 15 is waiting for our click. So whenever I click there, this line number 14 will run actually. Because it is waiting, line number 15 will add, 15 will also run, but
yeah, that's what I
it will
mean.
not,
When you click,
it will not run
click
whole button,
on,
right? It is just waiting this click event. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right. Click event is waiting from line number 15. And once this is encountered, then this line number 14 will run.
yeah.
Yeah. It means two lines are running, right? First line number 15, then line number 14. Okay, so yeah, this is how this is working. This is just really simple example. You need to understand it properly, okay? Otherwise, you are actually lagging some concepts. Then, if you are not understanding this code, then it will be slightly hard to move ahead. Okay, guys, make sure it is working for you. So yeah, you can ask me. We can discuss. Otherwise, you need to work as well. Sometimes
How
you may be
how is
missing
it
some.
how is it saving the number count
Okay, how is it saving this count value, right?
count value?
Yeah. Yeah, can somebody answer this question, please? Maybe Sahaz or somebody else.
Because we
Yes.
have used set count function, so that will update the count.
Yeah, and also count is a state, so it's like a special sort of variable. It's being updated, and every time it's being updated, it's being rendered. Um, so it's being managed by set count.
Yeah, your value will be always there. The updated value will be always in the count because it is a state. Okay, is it fine now?
Yes.
All right. So, but when you refresh, it will go away, right? This is not a permanent persistence. This is a temporary, whenever you are watching it here. If you refresh it, then it will once again start from 0. If you want to persist it all the time, then you need to save it in some database, right? Right? What you will do is, whenever you click here, you will send the updated value in database, and later you will fetch that from database. Then it will be always 8. Otherwise, it will once again be 0, because this is just a front-end application. This is not a whole life, right? So yeah. So let's go and see. Use reducer hook instead of use state hook. We want to use reducer hook. So I'm going to replace this use state with use reducer hook. All right. You can see the instructions here. Replace React use state with React use reducer. We changed this from use state to use reducer. Now use reducer is imported here. This is completed now. But if you want to use reducer hook, then you need to follow the syntax. So initial count will be the second argument now. The first argument will be the count reducer, something called count reducer. We don't know what is count reducer, right? But that is the first argument actually. This is also completed. So now what is this count reducer? Let's see. Count reducer is a function, you can see here. Okay, this is a function. Let's create that function here. I'm writing function outside, but you can write this function here as well, inside, somewhere here. Function count reducer. Okay, count reducer is a function. Oh, okay. Change the next 2 line of code. Maybe we have some function already given here. Maybe I missed. Let me see. It is not given. Then we'll create. Okay, it is not here. We will create it. Maybe it was there previously. We need to create a count reducer function. And yeah, you can write the count reducer function. You don't have to make any changes to the next 2 line of code. Okay, we wrote the count reducer function here. And the first argument is use state. First argument of the state. First argument of the count reducer function is a state. And this is also completed. The second argument is new state. Okay. Now this is the whole syntax of use reducer hook. So we have a use reducer hook here, which is accepting first parameter as a function. This function name can be anything, count reducer or maybe other. This is the initial count. And it is accepting state and new state here. But now it is not going to work here. Let's see if it will work. Oh, now 0 is also gone from here. Something is wrong, right? So let's see what is happening here actually. Do you want to ask me something about this syntax first? Guys? So use reducer hook is accepting 2 arguments. This is really important, 2 arguments. The first one is actually a function, and the second one is the initial count. This is what you need to remember, okay? But this is a function that we are writing here. What is this returning actually? This is another question for you. It is not returning anything, right? What is this returning then? If it is not returning anything, then it will return undefined, right? Isn't it? It will return undefined. So it is not returning anything here. We need to return something. Let's say, what is this state and new state first? State and new state as well. Let's see what are these 2 things. I need to click here and I'll see. Otherwise, it will not run. Whenever I click here, then this count reducer will run actually. Let me click. And now you can see, oh, state is 0 and new state is 1. Okay. Now, can you tell me what is the difference between this state and new state?
Is the default value, default state, new state is the next step in the state.
Okay, actually, This state is coming from here. This state is count. Actually, you can say this is a previous state. And this state here is coming from here, actually. Count plus state. And this you can say new state. Let's try, okay? Let's try writing 10 here. Or let me try hello here. Let me write hello. Then this new state will be hello, right? According to my explanation. Okay, let's see. Let me click here and we will see previous state 0 and new state hello because we are passing hello from here. Okay, something is wrong. Previous state is not defined. I need to write previous state here as well. We do it one more time. Yes, this previous state is 0 and this new state is whatever I am passing from here. The updated value from set count. This is a state updating function, which is now going inside count reducer now. The flow is now going inside count reducer. Previously, if you remember, the set count is directly updating this count, right? Now set count is not directly updating count. It is going inside where? Inside this count reducer function. Because we captured the value here, right? So since this is a new state, now let's return this new state from here. So this is how use reducer works. Set count here, previously with use state hook, was directly updating the count. But now with use reducer hook, it will not directly update the count. It will go inside count reducer function first. Actually, while I was learning React previously, it was really hard for me to understand this flow. What is happening there? What is happening with use reducer function? But later I found that was really simple. Whenever set count is running, whatever you are passing from here will go inside this reducer function as a second parameter here. Okay. So it means whatever you are writing here will go here. Okay. And that is what we are returning here. Now, whatever you are returning here will now update the value of this state. Now this is slightly longer chain, but eventually it is now updating that state. Previously with use state hook, your set count is directly updating your count, right? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Now your set count is directly not updating count. Set count is now passing the value inside the reducer function here. Now the job of reducer is now to update this state, not this set count. Previously with use state hook, the job of set count is to update the state. Now with use reducer hook, job of reducer is to update the state, not set count. So what is the job of set count then? What is the role of set count here? What is set count doing? You can say. What can you say set count is doing here?
Giving a new value.
Giving a new value to whom?
To the reducer,
to a reducer, correct? Yeah, to a reducer as a first or second parameter.
second.
Yeah, second parameter right here. That's the job of this set count. The job of the set count is giving the updated value or a new value, whatever is writing here, to the reducer function right here. And now reducer function has a larger responsibility. Okay, so set count is saying, hey, I'm handovering my state, my updated value to you. Now it's your job to provide the appropriate state. Now my job is not to update the state. My job is now not to update the state. Now it's your job to update the state. So it is saying that here I'm handovering you the recent value. Take this value, do whatever you want, and update the state at the end. Okay, it is taking this value. It will do something here. Currently, it is just console logging, and now it will finally update the state. Whatever you write here will be the value of the count now. So it means, let me write 100 here. It will be the value of the count, you can say. If you go with my explanation, right?
Yes.
Let's see. it means when I click here, the 0 will become 100. Okay, let's see.
Yes.
Yeah, it is becoming 100. So it means whatever the value is returned from use reducer, your reducer function will be the value of this state. So as many times I'm clicking here, each and every time your state is 100, because always I am providing 100 value from here each and every time, right? That's why it is providing value 100 each and every time there. It is sending number 15 to the count reducer, but it is not taking its state, right? It says set count is saying that, hey, I am sending you this state. Please take my state, do something with this, and return the appropriate state. But this reducer function is saying like, hey, I'm accepting your state, but I'm not using your state. I will actually return my one. It is always returning this 100. So actually it will do something with this value. It shouldn't return always 100, but whatever you are writing, I'm trying to show is whatever you are writing will be the value of count here. But actually eventually we'll need to capture the value sent from here, right? This is a new state. I need to write new state here. If I need to print the value sent from here. Okay, now if I hit enter, it is always printing 15. This is just a workflow. What about previous state? Previous state. So guys, can you tell me at this location, at this point, when I click here, what will be the previous state and new state value? If I click here,
0 and 15.
0 and 15. Let's see. You can just type something like, let me write. Do you want to go in break? Let me know, okay? Previous state. And this is a new state, let's say. New state. Okay. Let me once again refresh it and click. Previous state is 0, new state is 15. Okay, now what will be the previous state and new state if I click now on this button?
15 and 15.
Yeah, 15 and 15, because the new state, the current state is 15. It will be the previous state for this call, right? For this click, right? And the new state is also 15. All right, 15 and 15 all the time. Okay, great. So what if I just pass 1 here? It will be 1 all the time. So let's use this previous state as well. What will happen if I write previous state plus new state here? Now let's examine this situation. What will be the previous and new state if I click here now, guys? Or yeah, previous and new state, yeah.
15 and 1.
It will be, the previous state will be 0, right? Currently. And the new state will be
1.
1. Okay. Okay. Now, what will be the previous and new state if I now once again click on this button?
1 and 1.
1 and 1, so it will return 2.
1 and 1. Previous state will be 1. New state will be 1, right?
Yeah.
1 and 2.
No,
1
1
and
and
2.
1.
Now 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
1.
There is no confusion that current state is the previous state. Current will become the previous state, right? Current state is 1. So previous state will be 1 now. But new state will be 2.
Yeah, 1 plus 1.
Yeah.
It will 1 plus
Yeah.
1 return 2, but like when we pass it previous state and new state value, if you mean, then like it will be 1 and 1, right?
Okay.
But
Yeah.
like in line number 2, like it will go and like add, and then after like it will be 2.
It will be
Wait.
2. But currently, what we
Yeah,
will
the
see in the previous state and new state here.
the new state
And 1.
is the variable passed by the set count, right? So it's still 1
Correct.
because
Still 1. Yeah, that's right. It means new state will be 1 there. And what will be the previous state?
1.
1. Then 1 and 1. No 1 and 2, right? Let's see. Yeah, 1 and 1. But why are we seeing 2 here?
Because in line number 2, like we added, and now the count will be 2, right? Because
Oh, yeah. This is the next state. This is now the state stored here, right? Count. Correct? Whatever you are sending from here will be stored here. Count.
Yeah, we have
You are
manipulated.
sending 1 plus 1. Yeah. So whatever you send from here will be stored here. You are sending previous state is 1 here, new state is 1. That's why it is storing 2 here at this point. Now, what we will see on this console, previous state and new state, if I click once again.
2 and 1.
3, 1 and 1.
2 and 1.
3 on the
2 and 1.
Previous state will be 2, new state will be 1.
Okay, previous state will be 2, new state will be 1. That's correct. Yeah, previous state is 2, new state is 1. And now the value here is sent in the current state, right?
Yeah.
This is 2 and this is 1, and that is the value 2 plus 1 is 3, which is 3 here. That's why on count we have 3. That is what the value we are seeing here. Are you understanding the flow now? So instead, what I can also write is, let's say, count plus state here. Now let's go one step ahead. Okay, guys. So what will be the value of previous state and new state now? If I click.
0 and 1.
Yeah, previous state is 0 currently, right? And the new state will be count 0 and step is 1, right? Step is coming 1 from here, right? So 0 and 1, 0 and 1. Okay, now they are synchronized. Okay, new state is 1, new state is 1 here as well. So once again, if I click here, what will be the value?
2
1
and
and 2. 1 and 2.
2 and
1 and 2 or 2 and 2?
2 and
1 and 2.
1 and 2.
count is 1, and but still the step is 1, right? So 2 and
Yeah.
but the previous state value, I mean, so previous value was for the count was 1, so 2 and 1, I think.
You mean 1 and 2? 1 and 2, right? Previous
Yeah.
state 1, new state 2. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry,
Let's
man.
see. Oh, I think, yeah, this is 1 and 2. We are seeing 3 because they are added now. 1 plus 2, 3. So once again, if I click, let's do it finally, and then we'll move ahead. Now let's finally say what will be the value of previous state and new state here on the console.
3 and 4.
This is 3 and 3 and yeah, 4.
3 and 4.
4. You are jumping twice, 2 steps ahead here. New state is 2 previously. It will be 4 now.
The set count will add the previous count and plus step.
Count plus step.
Okay, then we need to go here as well, right? We have 2 variables, right? Previously, we have a static value there. Currently, we have count plus step. So count is currently 3, right? 3 plus 1, 4. And new state is 4, right? And the previous state is
3.
3.
3 or 2?
3.
It is 3. It is 3, right? Because we are sending previous state 3 here. Let's see. It should be 3 and 4, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Yes. So in this way, we are seeing each and every time state update there. Previous state and the new state. So this is a previous state. You can also say the current state as well if you understand. This is the new state that is currently coming from here, you can say. Okay. This is how we actually update this state from use reducer hook. You can just send only step from here as well. Now, if you understand, you can do anything as you want. This is just a step. You can change the variable name. It shouldn't be always new state. Okay, this is just value coming from here, whatever the value is coming from here. This is just the name I given. So you can just say this is a state or this is a change coming. This is a change. Now you can say this is a count, something like this, count and change. Now these are better names, I think. Count plus change. So each and every time, what will happen is count will be initially count is 0, right? Count is 0. So change is 1, right? 0 plus 1 will become 1. Later, count is 1, change is 1, 1 plus 1 will become 2. Once again, we are implementing the counter here. Okay? Is this fine? So we have something more to do here. What we can also do is we can pass object from here, right? As well. So object from here. Like, let's say we have like, let's calculate count here directly. Count plus state. Let's calculate directly count here. Count plus state. State will calculate count. Count is 0 initially, plus state is 1. Now, what we are getting here is something called, you can name it anything, right? Sorry, not here, this one. You can name it anything. But most of the time when you deal in real world example or project or later with Redux as well, you'll see this variable name called action. Action is coming here. This is the action actually. And this one is, let's say, state. This is the state, this is state. This action is this one. Okay. Now I cannot do this, right? Can I? Can I directly write count plus change? Count is also not coming here. I cannot take this count. I need to take this thing coming from here. And change is also not coming. What should I do here now, guys? In order to send the recent updated state, what should I do here? And I need to once again change something more as well, maybe. But let's stick with this one. I want to send the count value from here. This is this return statement. The action is object actually currently. The state is actually the count.
So you can send state, right? So if state consists of count.
Okay, let's say state. State is this count actually. Yeah. And this is the object actually. I cannot count. Oh,
yeah. Action dot count.
Action dot count. Let's say action dot count. Count. Once again, if you remember, you are actually going against React. Most of the time, we will not directly access some variable. We are just accessing it, means we are mutating something, means we are accessing the direct variable here, sending it to here. But let's see first. We will try to solve this. Or do you think will it work? Action dot count. Action dot count. Let's see. We are not using state currently. We are directly sending count coming from here. Initially it is 0. 0 plus step will be 1. 1 is sent here. Now 1 is the value of the count, and count is 1 plus 1, 2. It should work, right? But this is not good. Do not actually try to directly access the variable property, state property, and try to update in your state variable. Okay, but we want some object, right? Let's say the initial count is like let's say this is object and count having 0 now. Now this will not work, right? Now initial count is an object. It will also not work here. I need to write count dot count once again. Am I correct? Or you can change this to state, and you can say state dot count, right? You can write state here. Something like this. I'm changing multiple things here right now. So this state is object right now. Object. That's why I need to take the variable out of that object. The variable is, you can say property is count. That's why state.count is 0 here. And every time I'm sending count here, which is state plus state. This line will not work now. Let's see if we can still see 0. Yeah. Now what should I write here in order to match with this object? What should I return here? If you just return state.count, then it will just return a single variable, but we want object to be sent from here. We want to send object from here actually. Can I write like, let's return this object, and the count is action.count once again. We are creating brand new object now, okay? We are accessing the value, but creating a brand new object here. Matching with this same schema here. Schema means same property name. So will it work? Actually, I'm doing the same thing in multiple ways here. This is not that much entire new concept. Okay, this is the first initial value. This is the value that I'm sending here. Let's see. Let me once again click here. Okay, I'm seeing object. Okay, something is not correct here.
Yes, correct. In line number 12, like you are so you are passing the object value to set count, but it's state plus step. So state is an object, and you're trying to add it to step, which is a variable, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yes, you are right. Then I should correct here as well. What should I do?
Count instead of step.
Count. Take count out, right? Count. Is it fine now? Let's see. Okay, now it's working. Once again. Right? But this is not actually the perfect line that we can write here. For example, let's assume that we have count here. Let's say we have total as well. So total is, let me write a static value right now, 100. And I'm going to see what is the value of the state is every time. Currently count 0, total 100. Now watch carefully what will happen if I click here. Only count. Where is that total actually? Total is erased. It is gone. If you delete some property, then it is not good, right? Why this is happening? Can you say?
Because we never returned a value.
We just returned count, right? And
Yes.
what should we do here to improve this line?
Use the spread operator.
Restructure the state.
Yeah.
Restructure what? State here?
Use the spread operator.
Yeah, copy. You can say, yeah, spread operator job is copy all the previous state value, you can say. First copy all this previous value and then set your new value. Don't set your new value directly. Copy all your previous value. To copy all your previous value from object, you can use spread operator directly here. We are copying all the previous values, all the previous properties, you can say. And now we are now sending our new properties here. Will it work? That's why we did this previously. Let's see. We click here and count 1, total is still 100, right? Count 2, total is still 100. Now we are not deleting this total. Okay, we need
What
to
is
be
this
careful.
action dot count?
Action?
Dot
Yeah,
count.
what is this? What is this action actually, right?
Yes.
First, let's see what is this action? Where is this coming from? On which line? Can you see?
Line number 13.
Line number 13, right? Action is coming from line number 13. Line number 13 Is this action? I can say this action, right?
Yes.
Action is just a name I provided. You can write your name as well. Your name, right? Previously, I wrote new state. Action is coming from here. This is action. Action is object then. Action is an object which is having property count, right? That's why we are taking that property out, action.count. Action.count is this count actually. This is fine now?
Yes.
That's why we are accessing that action.count. We actually calculated our count directly here. We are doing the same thing in multiple ways to learn these things from multiple perspective actually. This is the same thing. Actually, we have already discovered the concept, but we are doing it in different ways to discover how we can implement it in different way in real use case, right? So we need to actually remember that we need to copy all the previous values. Otherwise, we can break our application sometimes. That is really important, okay? But until now, this is not a real world simulation. Now I'm going to actually provide you example, which you will implement in real world, which will implement those code in real world. In real world use case, you will see most of the time just a convention, okay? Just a convention. You'll see the state is actually, yeah, the state is a state, but the set count will be named as something like dispatch. Dispatch is nothing, but it is a set count, a state updating function, just a different name. You'll see this keyword because in the Redux, we are going to use the same keyword. We cannot use different keyword here, but here we can. We can write anything here. This is the real world convention name that you will see all the time. Developers used to write this name. Now we are writing dispatch. Just renamed it. Everything is fine. Nothing will change now. You can still use that other name as well. Now I'm not going to send count here. I will send object, but I will say that I will send some instruction in some object property. Let's say I'm writing type here. You can write any property name, okay? It is not limited to type as well. I'm sending type is increment. Now I'm sending increment type from here. And you need to increment it by a step that we have here. Step is 1. So I'm sending increment type and step. This is more straightforward actually. Increment function is sending increment type and state as it's from a dispatch actually. It is dispatching, you can say. It is dispatching this object to count reducer. Now this action will hold increment type and state. Now I cannot directly increment it. I need to actually see. So this action is this object, right? Is there any confusion with this statement, guys?
Correct. Type is just a keyword, right? Type is just a property. The
Property,
key.
just a property, just a name that you can write anything. You can write my type here, something like this. Just a property of object. Don't worry about this. You can write anything that you want, okay? This is the state updating, this is the state value. Now what we can do is write something here and send. So this line is saying that I'm sending you increment type and step value. Now your job is to increment this step. Later, I will add another button, and at that time I'll say decrement type. Now I will see decrement function and decrement type here. I will have 2 buttons. One is for increment and one is for decrement. We want to implement this actually. This is for decrement. So we have 2 buttons now. If you click here, oh, now it is broken. Let me return something static here, 0. Now if you click here, it should actually increment. If you click here, it should actually decrement. We want to implement that situation here. Right? Maybe, sorry about that. I forgot to take break. Maybe can we take real quick break and start this session, right? and implement this situation here?
Yeah.
Okay, if possible, let's meet in 5 to 7 minutes and implement this here. Okay. Yeah, thank you guys. I'll be back. Right, everyone. Are we here? Well, can we start now? Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes.
I think it was visible. Okay. Our main goal is if we click here, button should be incremented. If we click here, a button should be decremented. That's our main goal actually. So you can write decrement, increment count or decrement count if you want to see that button then. Let me make this slightly smaller then. If I click on increment count button should increment the counter, decrement count button should decrement the counter. So we received the value, the type here already. Action contains this value, right? Am I correct? Let me only work with this first function. Later we will work with the second one. I'm going to disable the decrement count for now. We only have increment count. The action here we are receiving is the type and the state, right? And we need to click here. Action we are receiving here is type increment step 1. So can we say something like, can we write if else condition here and return conditionally if that action dot type equals increment. At this time, at this time only increment it. Let me write this now here. At this time, what I'm trying to do is copy the previous state first, copy these two states, and increment the counter. Count action. Now we want to update the state, right? So state dot count plus 1 or plus step. Step is coming inside action actually. So I can write action dot step. Okay. Now this function will execute. And there are two return statements, right? Only one of them will execute. Currently, which line will execute if I click there? Line number 13 or line number 11?
11.
Yeah, because it is going to check action.type there because the type is increment and increment here as well. This is matched. That's why it will return this code from that function. Let's see. And we need to see that increment counter. Yeah, it is working properly, right? Type is increment, step is 1 here. Each and every time we are getting the same action. And now it is checking the type of that action, whether it is increment or not. If something is missed here, for example, this is now not correct, right? Now this will not run this line number 11 at all. It will run line number 13. That's why if I click here now there is no value because it is always going to send 0 and it is not correct, right? That's why it is not showing anything there. So it needs to match the value that that is the type here. Now this is really simple, right? You can check, we are conditionally checking the action and conditionally returning states as well. Let's do for decrement counter. Let's check if the type is decrement or not. And we need to actually have another button and another handler function. And if the type is decrement, then we are going to actually decrease it. Okay, subtract it, decrease it by 1 each and every time. So let's see. Oh, it is showing me the same thing there. What should I change? What should I need to do there? Why it is showing me the same value each and every time? Maybe I can remove it then, right? It's showing me same value. Remove it. Within a single button, I can now either increment it or decrement it. That's why let me remove this counter from here. Now, oh, I cannot do that as well, because in the same button, can I add two handler function here, writing comma something like decrement? Can I do this? Possible?
No.
Not possible, yeah.
No.
Not possible. So let's say, let me write here increment, and after button, we are going to paste the value of the count there, state.count. This is for increment button. Let me wrap it in div block then. Okay, it is not auto completing here. Div block. This is a button for increment, or you can say, yeah, you can actually format it however you want. And this is for decrement. Then I need to actually have different block here. This is decrement count. If I click there, then that will be decremented. So increment is once again incrementing both of them. Decrement is decrementing both of them. So let's first see what is happening there. Maybe I can wrap this in a block level element called h1 maybe. Same here. Okay. Now we have increment. Increment is actually we are using the same thing here. That's why it is showing us the same value. Increment is incrementing these values, and decrement is decrementing these values. Maybe you can remove one of them or remove it from here and place it somewhere else. Now we have increment and decrement. Increment is incrementing the value. Decrement is decrementing the value. And what is happening here? It is checking the type. How is it gonna know whether this button is clicked or this button is clicked? How does this know? Actually, how can it track which button is clicked? Because whenever I'm clicking here, it is decrementing. Whenever I'm clicking here, it is incrementing, right?
The callback function said to onClick. So determine which function is on, I guess.
Correct, yeah. So if this one is clicked, this button is clicked, then decrement, this function will run. If this one is clicked, this function will run actually. So when this function is running, this decrement function is running, it is sending a type decrement right here in the action. In the action, it is sending type decrement, and we are checking the type decrement there. So it will not match this line of code. That's why it will not run it. It is matching this line actually. That's why it is running it, and it is returning this state from here. So that's why we are seeing it is decreasing, because we are decreasing here, right? But if we click here on the increment, then this function will run. This function is sending a type increment here. Type increment is received in the action, will be checked here. This first if block is matched, that's why it will now return the state from here. That's why it is incrementing when I click here. All right, is this fine? Is this flow fine? Do you have some questions for me here? Yeah, this
so
is the real use.
Yeah,
so
what if I want to achieve like both the increment and decrement button with those like increment and decrement values next to those buttons? How can I achieve that?
You mean you want increment value here only, decrement here only?
Yeah. So like the
Then,
one that we like previously had. So like if we had no, so like if we had the value printed below the increment button, like in line 20, like below line 26 if we paste the code that is in line 32. Yeah.
Okay, this one, right?
Yeah.
Maybe here and here, both location.
Yeah.
Yeah. Currently we don't have two multiple states here. We have a single one, right? We have a single one. This is
there any way
referencing
to
to the
achieve
same.
like different states?
Yeah, there are. Maybe somebody can guess how we can achieve that. That may be simple, right? Maybe. Can somebody guess how we can just print? Currently, what will happen is if I click here, both of them will increase, both of them will decrease. If I just want to increase this one and decrease this one, then these are separate, right? They will be separated from each other, aren't they? For example, let's not see here. If I increase this will be 6 and this will be 0 still, right? You want to separate them? Is that your question?
Yeah, that's correct.
This means these two variables are entirely different, right? They are not connected, right?
Yeah.
They are not increasing the same one.
Okay.
If they are different, then we can create another different variable here.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can write something like decrement count, DEC count. Let's say this is 0. 0, let's say. And we need to actually manipulate that one instead of this count. Right. So for let's say which one we want, decrement. So instead of writing count here, I need to write DEC count. We have a separate variable there. Right.
Makes sense.
So yeah, and then here I need to actually print this one, DEC count. Now they are completely isolated. Oh, decrement is decrementing the same one. We have something which is not correct until now as well. What happens is decrementing is manipulating this one. Maybe we need to see there decrement state. Oh, we are setting count here, not count. We need to actually set another variable that we initialize, that is decrement count, DEC count. Okay, now if I click here, it will increment. If I click here, it will decrement. Right? Is there any other question? So this is entire flow regarding use reducer hook. Actually, I did some examples as well. Just remember that use reducer hook is really important one. You need to understand it properly. Okay, just try to write different things here. You can write switch case statement here as well instead of if else. There is a switch case statement in JavaScript. You can also try. Okay, this is slightly replacement of if else sometimes. Switch case, you can say JavaScript and just try to write this line of code there. This is just the syntax, right? This is the syntax of switch case. Try to implement here. Switch case. This is replacing if else. If you don't want to write this one, what you can do is check the action.type here. Okay. If that action.type is increment, what you want to do is write this line of code there. Right here. Okay. And if that is decrement, then you want to write this line of code there. Else you can sometimes return a default value as well. Maybe you want to return the same state. Return state. No need to change anything. Right? So this is just another syntax. It will also do the same thing. Sometimes you will see, now we don't need this one as well. Either you can implement if else or switch case. Most of the time you will see this syntax there in use reducer hook. sorry, this is a reducer function in reducer function. All right. Now, this is just a reducer function. In real world, you will have a lot of reducer functions there. Then it is good to actually store it in some other folders like reducers and create a count reducer and paste it here. Now you can directly export it from here, right? We are isolating it. Why do we want to write it here, right? We are separating the concern here. Now you can directly import that one. Where are we using it? We don't need use state here as well. We are using use reducer as an initial argument here. You can directly import it on the top and use it on your code. And that will once again work. Okay, so this is the whole workflow. Everything you need to know regarding use reducer hook. All right, guys. Anything you want to ask me here? You can write anything, okay? Just, yeah, please.
Instead of creating that new state decrease count, can I not just simply pass this type variable and the step variable as into the component counter, and then like use the same count state count property of the state, and like so that I don't have to write this like another state, right? So can I not utilize the same state?
Yeah, maybe you can try it first. You mean just write the same one here and here, right? Instead of writing DEC count here. Yeah. Maybe just try it first. Try to implement it because these are the same thing doing in different way, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you can try and just ask me then if you tried and not working, maybe, or working. Maybe you can share.
Okay.
You mean you want to write set state.count here, but do not want to increment this one when you are clicking this one, right? Or do not want to change this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just maybe you can just hit and trial yourself sometimes, and let's see. Let me know tomorrow if you have some confusion.
Okay.
Yeah. And other thing we need to make sure is state, okay? If you have the same state, it will reflect on both of the thing. If you are printing the same thing here and here, both of them will be updated. So state will not run here, only run here. That is not happening. If that is the same variable, then it will actually update everywhere in the current component. So yeah, this is all about use reducer hook. Maybe you can try here as well. Something maybe instead of if there is no increment and decrement, if there is some faulty button in your code, maybe at that time instead of returning the state, maybe we can do something like we can maybe let's say we can provide the error. So we can create error by creating the instance of the error constructor function. Actually, this is a function. We are instantiating that function. So this is how we create throw error. Maybe you need to have increment or decrement only, something like this. And let's see. Let me now create another button which is slightly different now. Oh, I think I gone out of that fragment. Okay, this is now something random here. We are sending some random oh, let me instead, yeah, I need to make that random function here, and this is something random. This type is not either increment or decrement. It is not matching here. Now we have another button Currently it is working for increment, decrement. Let's see for this is once again showing decrement. This is actually random. Just a visualization there. Working here. But if I click here now everything blows away. So there is an error actually. If you go here in your console, now we have our error here. That is the error that we sent ourselves from here. Okay, sometimes you need to send that error and you need to handle that error properly as well. Otherwise your application will break here. Nothing is shown, right? A white screen. It is sometimes referred as a white screen of death. Nothing is here. Yeah. So increment, that's fine. Decrement, that's fine. But if there is something random, we have error. Maybe just try to handle that error properly. If there is error, then do something. Maybe you can try that as well. Okay, these are some additional things you can try yourself. But main concept behind use reducer hook is it is everything regarding this reducer function. This reducer function is doing a lot of things here. We are just passing some states of recent state or updated state or some action, you can say value here. Currently this is object where we have a type and a state. This is what we are sending, but this will be accepted by that reducer function, and the job of reducer function is look at the type and do whatever is requested from the type. Okay, any question? All right, so let me comment at this stage and maybe we will just look at that context then. And most of the thing in React until now will be covered. So now we are ready to actually create a small application with React because we have used reducer as well, right? Oh, we need TypeScript. We need some TypeScript as well. Maybe we'll learn TypeScript first and start doing some project then. But can I commit right now? Do you want to ask me something before? All right then. This is all regarding use reducer hook. We have something like context as well. Context is the purpose. Use reducer hook. What is this doing? It is actually changing this state from multiple functions, right? Here is one increment function, here is one decrement function. So we are actually dealing with the same state here, or we can actually manage multiple states as well. Here is one state and here is one state. We do it with from functions actually. Actually, the main function is this count reducer function. Later we'll create a lot of reducer function. We can create multiple reducer functions as well, maybe in the practical application. The main job of reducer hook is to manage multiple states here. Okay, but the context is slightly different. Why do we need context? I think we already discussed it previously, right? I asked you about the global variable concept, right? When you want to access that variable everywhere in the component without drilling it through multiple components, then there at that point you need to create a global variable, right? But creating global variable ourselves is not that much simpler. We need to write some utility functions as well to handle that global variable. That's why I use context, or context is actually doing those things for us. That's why we are using context to solve prop drilling actually. Okay, so you can now open another repository for the context. Maybe on the chat I have shared with you. Okay, we'll spend around 10 minutes of time with context and we'll end this session here. Context is simpler, not that much difficult actually. Let me open this one maybe. Where is this? I'll find somewhere. So I shared with you the initial code that we need with context. First, let's see where is this context coming from. It is a part of React. Whenever I'm saying it is a part of React means we don't need to actually download a third-party library or some package. Okay, it is a part of React means it is inside React. Let's print React here then. All right, and let's see what is that inside React then. We already saw previously many things, right? Here inside React. Now inside React we are learning many things, right? We discovered the concept of use effect hook already, right? And we discovered the context of use. Oh, we are discovering this one, but we discovered the context of use reducer hook as well. Previously we saw use state first, right? So we have already discovered 3 hooks from React. There is something called create context in React here. This is actually providing the access to the context in React. This is sometimes referred as a context API. And together with create context, we will also use this use context from React. All right. So this is a hook. This is not a hook. OK, this is there to create a context. This will help us to create a context. This is there to actually consume the value of the context. This is a hook. So we are going to use these two with the context, create context and use context. Both of them are coming from React. That's why we can directly destructure it here, right? Can I write create context here, guys? Can I write create context directly here? What do you think? Since this is a part of React, I can write it, right?
Yes.
So create context is there, which will help us to create a context. Maybe you have slightly tried to do yourself this one, context, and you are already familiar, right? Context things a little bit. Okay, somebody asked me previously, what if you want to try passing state from child to parent in the opposite way? At that time, we will pass it via function. We haven't seen that, maybe we'll do that. But from top to bottom, if you want to pass it from top to bottom, then at that time we will have a problem called prop drilling. So we have 2 problems here. From top to bottom, we have a problem, prop drilling. From bottom to top, it is slightly complex and we need to implement it through functions actually. Then there is context, which will help actually resolve both of these problems. So it will help us to resolve these problems, and it will actually create like a global variable. Okay, so but it will actually not actually it will handle those things itself. It will not actually ask us to maintain those global variable scope. We will not suffer from the maintainability of those global variable ourselves. That's why context is helping us. It is doing all of these things behind the scene. What we need to do is just accept this context from React and create a context. That's all. Then we can move ahead. All right, so let's create our context similar to this one then. So to create a context, it is created here outside the component because we don't have to create it inside the component, right? It is like a global. That's why go outside here, outside of component. So we can create a context with the help of this create context function that we already have. Okay, this one, create context. This is a function, okay, but it will return a component. A function can return anything. Anything means a string, a number, array, object, component as well. What do you mean by function returning a component? Can somebody explain this line? A function is returning a component. Will you understand what I am saying here?
It means returning on HTML like CSS.
Yeah, correct. It will return a component. Component will hold JSX like HTML, right? Correct. So it will return a component means we will actually create it in a variable and write it like a component convention. For example, this is context. I'm writing it in a capital letter because it is a component. If I'm writing in a small letter, maybe that may be the function. So this is a component. You can say my context, something like that. Name can be anything that you want. Okay. So this is a component. Component means we can treat it. We can actually maybe we can call it from somewhere. Calling a component is called rendering a component, right? Maybe we can render it somewhere. Instead of writing div here, let me write that context component then. This is a component. Can I write component in this way? If that is a component, then can I write my context here instead of div? Can I write component in this way?
Yes.
Yeah, it is possible, right? And this is a children of that component. Whatever I am passing here. Okay, I think I missed one thing. A prop contains children as well. This will also be received here. Sorry, not here. In the context, actually, in the context. Whatever I am passing here. But let's not worry about that one. That is not that much important right now. It will be discussed later. It's actually important, but not right now. Let's see. We treated this like a component. That's why I was saying component. This is fine until now. This is fine. Something is wrong. We need to fix that. We are not writing a proper syntax here. So then what are we trying to do here? Where is the global variable that we want, right? We want to access global variable. Where is the global variable? We don't have the global variable until now. So let's create some global variable then. So instead of writing this one here, context here, what I will do is write div once again. Because this is going to be global, right? Context is going to be global. Why am I limited to this app component right now? Context is going to be global. Let me remove it from here. Where do you think the first topmost file located? Global JavaScript file, you can say. Or instead of global, you can say topmost JavaScript file. The first JavaScript file which will run in React. Which JavaScript file is that actually?
Main.tsx.
Which one?
Main.tsx.
Yeah, main.jsx. No tsx, okay? tsx is slightly different thing. Yeah. Yeah, that we'll see later. Main.jsx. This is the first file. Then since this is the global, let me create a context here instead of doing it here, right? Let's create a context here. I don't have a context imported. Let me import context here as well. Then I don't need it here. Let me make this slightly bigger. Not responsive actually. Okay. I don't know what is happening. Okay. So we don't need this context here. And it is created here now. I said global, right? And this is the first component which is rendered, isn't it? This app component is the first component, right? Every other component will be rendered inside this app component actually later. That's why let's use this context here instead of using it inside app, because we want to create a global variable, something like that. So what I can do is I'm going to remove this one app first. Now I'm going to use my context component because this is also a component, right? And now inside this context, I will render this app. Now every other component will be rendered inside app. It will come directly here. Finally, they are wrapped by a context. So this is acting like a wrapper, global wrapper, outermost wrapper, right? Now, where is the global variable then? This is a wrapper, only wrapper. No global variable is created until now. Now let's create a global variable. Now it will provide some value. It will provide some value. That's why we need to use something called provider. It needs to actually provide that value, that global value. That's why instead of just using context, I need to use context.provider. Provider here. Okay, provider is also here. Context provider is also here. This is like something is built. Now some person is required to actually send it to some location. That person is here. That is like a provider. Now where is that thing then? Where is that value that we want to send? Then let's create a global variable now. So that is inside value actually. Now I am, let's say, coming from context, something like this is a string, which is a global variable, which is sent from a provider to the app component. Every other component will now render inside app component. That's why it is like a global variable now. Now we can accept it anywhere. Now let's try to accept it here. Okay, we created a context and provided a value. That's all what we did until now. Okay, is there any question? So we created a context, wrapped that context to the outermost component, attach a provider, send the value that you want to send. Later we will send multiple values here. Currently this is a single value that we have. Now you can accept this value anywhere into any other component. Let's try to accept it anywhere means every component will come here inside app. Now let's try to first access it within app component. Let's see if we can do this or not. If you remember, I told you I mentioned another hook that we will use to accept a value from the context. You know what that hook is?
Use context.
Yeah, use context. We use context hook here inside a component where we want to actually accept the value. And we will get that value here. So let's say value from context. This is the value coming from context. But we will pass something here. We will pass something here. You know what we will pass here?
The provider.
The provider.
The context name.
Yeah, the context. So which context is providing the value? The context name. Otherwise, we will not accept any other value coming from any other context. In real application, we may have multiple contexts, not a single context. That's why we need to actually mention this context name there. So let's export it from here then, because we want it there as well. Now we can actually use it here. The context name. If we start writing, it will be imported here. We imported it and we used it here. Now let's see what is the value coming from the context. Let me save it. Let me go and refresh it now. Now we are getting the value coming from the context into app.js. See, you can directly print it as well because we successfully received the value, right? Thing is wrong there. Is that okay? Yeah. Now, whatever may be your component, wherever may be your component, let's try to actually grab it inside product detail directly here, right? Do you think we can do it here? We can accept it? We can accept this string? What do you think? Product detail is once again rendered inside here. Maybe we can accept it directly here. What do we need to do? We need two things here. What are those two things?
Import
First
the
of
context. Use context and import the
First of all,
context
we
name.
need, correct. We need one hook called use context. We need a context name. These are the two things. So hook is already available from React, right? Use context. You can start writing and it will be imported on the top. Now we need that context name. The context name is my context, right? This one is also here because we have exported it from there. Now we have this value. Let's say we haven't sent the price, but let's say let me write price here directly. Now I'm going to write price here directly. Now we don't need this. I'm directly getting the price from the context. Now I can directly render it. Later I'll not directly render it, but currently I am directly rendering it. Okay, just to show you an example here. So what I can do here is I can directly render this product detail component. And now that product detail component is actually, let me go here in the product detail component. Okay, price is here. Price should be on the screen. Let me refresh it. Yes, this is the price. Now, if you pass the price, actual price here, it will be visible on the screen. So maybe there is something wrong here. Maybe we'll see that warning, but currently that may be the hot reload issue as well. Or maybe we are changing something inside here. Yeah, in the create root. But this is how we actually accept the context value. Anywhere now, any component can accept it. Right? We directly accepted it inside price product detail. We can accept it inside component. So wherever you want to accept the current context, you need two things. One is the context name, another is the use reducer hook. You can say only one thing because use reducer hook is always there from React, right? You can say we only need the context name. If you have the context name, then you can accept that value coming from that context anywhere. So in the real application, you'll see some folder called context. And in that context, maybe that is called my context, JSX. Maybe if there is no JSX, you can try writing only JS because we will not write JSX there. And instead of creating this context here, let's create this context here. Okay, we need this create context as well. If you want to create this context here, we have exported it. Let me save it. Now I need to go to main.jsx and I need this context here because this context is not still available to me. So if I click on this context, it is imported here. Now this context is available here. That's fine. If I go to app.jsx, this is also not coming from main now. It is coming from the context folder. Now it is coming from the context folder. If I go to product.detail.jsx, I can once again import context directly from that context folder. Now everything should work once again. A lot of lines are working. Okay. Yeah. Now we have a separate folder containing context here. We have reducer as well. We have components as well. Now we are accepting that context anywhere we want. You can directly accept it inside app, or you can accept it inside other component as well. All right. This is a concept behind context. Context is nothing but a global variable which we can accept anywhere. Okay, then maybe now you can try some extra credit from there. Here are some extra credit. Just try to do this. Maybe not that much important, but you can just still try it. The solution is already there as well. Try it yourself, and maybe we will implement it in the next session. Context and reducer together. Okay, but I think we will first learn the concept behind TypeScript, and then only we'll implement this concept, creating a new application maybe. Okay, guys. So I think that's all for my side today. So do you want to ask me something? How do you feel? Do you feel some difficulties with context now? Context is just a global variable. Okay, you can create it anywhere. We are creating inside context folder. This is a context we created. You can you can use this context anywhere. Now this context can be used anywhere. Anywhere means mostly we will use into the component. We used it inside price detail component here. This is a context. We imported it here from where? From the exact folder location that we have. And now to actually accept the values from that context, we will use this use context hook. Okay. And now just reading the value from here, context. And you need to do one more thing as well. You need to provide the value. That's why we are using a provider here. Provider. And the value is sent from here. All right. So mostly we did 3 to 4 things. Create a context, right? Provide its value and use the context. So create a context with create context, provide its value with provider, and read the value with use context. These are the points we need to remember here. Maybe you can practice yourself one more time, context and reducer. And until now, we almost finished the intermediate React part. So until intermediate part, we have completed. That's why now we are going outside of React. That is TypeScript, which is not a part of React. Beyond React, beyond JavaScript as well. It is not also a part of JavaScript. We are learning entire different programming language now, but it is a superset of JavaScript actually. So it is required in JavaScript. We'll see why it is required tomorrow, and we'll move ahead from there. All right. So do you have some question? Maybe Pratik, do you want to ask me something? Sahaj?
Yes, Gaurav.
Anything?
I was wondering, sometimes like while importing something from React or from any other directories, we have used the semicolons, not the semicolons, the uh the the two commas while importing the packages, and sometimes we are simply using the braces. When should we be using the braces, and when should we not be using the braces, and when should we use the uh the two commas?
Dot. Two dot, right?
Yes, the in
Mm,
not with the project itself. You know the inverted commas, like when we say import React from React, like in React there is no like the uh the
curly brace.
yes, no curly braces or no quotations around it. And
Quotation
sometimes,
is there, right? Quotation is there. Curly brace is only part missing.
okay, so yeah, I got you. The quotations would only be on the right hand side.
Yeah. This is because this is a default export from React. Whenever there is a default export, will not use curly brace. This is a named export from React because we saw this part in object, right? This is object itself. Whenever we have a default export, we will not use curly brace. Whenever we have a default export, we'll use curly brace.
Okay,
So that is the first part. And the React is providing us object. Whenever you want to accept something from object, default export means sending something inside object as well. Sorry, named export means. So whenever you are accepting object, it is a part of object, React object, right? This one, use context, is a property inside React. We are destructuring that property here. That's why we are using curly brace.
okay.
Yeah, whenever you want to destructure some property of the object, we will use curly brace. Otherwise, we will directly accept it. So whenever you have
And
a default export, we will not use curly brace. Yeah.
cool. And same is the case when you said like I remember when we were trying to export a default custom components, you mentioned we can use like any names to import
Correct.
that. Cool.
Correct. You can write any name here as well. We can write my React as well here.
Okay,
Whenever that is a default export.
cool. And on the right hand side, I remember you said for npm modules we are not supposed to like use dots, and for our
Correct. Yeah.
custom projects we are using dots.
We are using dots to move back and forth between the component. But maybe if there is something like, if you can do it without writing this will be more interesting, right?
Yes.
If you can do this, right? Actually, we can implement this as well. Let's do this tomorrow then. Let's do this as well. Yeah, this is like something like relative import. Just see relative or absolute import in React for the reference. Maybe you can just try in Google sometimes. Relative versus absolute import in React, and you'll see uh, the relative import is doing something like this, and absolute import is removing this one. So we'll need to implement that. It is not available by default. Yeah, we will need to do that to configure the so we'll add some file here and configure.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Commit this one. Okay, so you don't have any questions for me? Can we end this session for today then? I think today's session is slightly not good for you. The interaction is not that much. Yeah, that we used to have in the previous day, right? Maybe if you provide me some feedback, then that will help me tomorrow to move ahead. What about you, Samyak or Subhas or Visakha? Do you have some suggestion for me?
No, it's not. Yeah.
It's good. Are you understanding it?
Yeah. Hi, Gorak.
Hi.
I'm having an issue. Like I try to like create a React app on my different PC. When I try to run yarn create React app command, but it's not creating the public and the source folder. I don't know why.
Okay. Yeah, maybe just send me the screenshot. Maybe I will help you on the chat. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Send me some message on the chat. Maybe I'll look at there and help you.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. So let's meet tomorrow. Please ask me some of your queries tomorrow if you have. Otherwise, we are going to maybe implement TypeScript because we will spend some more time doing some React things before going into TypeScript as well tomorrow. And then we'll see TypeScript as well. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. Please look at Google TypeScript and try to read what is TypeScript before coming into tomorrow's session. It will slightly help you as well. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, Gorak. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.